People keep asking how Auto Hauler Exchange isn't a broker. Some carriers insist they are, because isn't that how you get loads from shippers? But wait, why can't carriers get work directly from dealers and shippers? Isn't that what Auto Hauler Exchange is offering? In case you're confused, or if you have any questions, Royce Neubauer, CEO, is here to set the record straight. Comments welcome. So please say hello, make new friends, grow your network, and learn from the best on ATI Auto Business. What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business, automotive ecosystem, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Let's get started with top industry news and headlines that include Trump wins, effect on EVs. Trump win, effect on Tesla. Trump win, effect on imports. Yeah, we're going to do that. Jump in the live chat. Please say hello. Let me know what's happening with you. Hello, YouTube. Hello, LinkedIn. We're live. Now, what we're doing is we've got Auto Hauler Exchange is here to set the record straight. Mic check 1, 2, 3. So, you know about Auto Hauler Exchange. You've been watching ATI. Auto Hauler Exchange is the only marketplace for vehicle logistics, bringing transparency to the industry by connecting carriers and shippers directly, removing the broker. So folks are asking, well, wait a minute. We saw that you are a broker. All right, transparency, let's do this. So we're going to talk about it tonight. We've been reading your comments. They've aggregated them, and they're going to address them. That's going to be great because they're here. So, let her rip. Put it in the comments. Say hello. CEO Royce Neubauer is here, and he is going to take your questions. We're going to kick off with Royce at the quarter hour. At the half hour, we're going to bring in Dana Randazzo, COO of Auto Hauler Exchange. She's going to bring the questions. I say know your ecosystem, know it, new, used, dealer, auction, logistics, etc. We are the neutral zone. And as I ask, what clocks are you chasing? Too many? Come to Used Car Week and find out more about how we can help. What we're doing is ATI is building bridges. We've got lender, repo, auction, transportation, and technology all on one panel. Lenders moving repo cars. Old habits die hard. Please do join us for that. That's next Tuesday morning. Wow. On Tuesday night's Automotive Ecosystem. Last Tuesday, we had Decision 2024 panel. That was a great show, and we stayed on topic. We talked about auto industry impact, important issues, EV, EPA, and more, which we're going to cover tonight also. Industry logistics, that's my Thursday show. Last Thursday, we talked about what happens when the wrong car hauler goes to pick up the repo. And then how that affects so many things. So if you missed that show, check it out. This Thursday, we've got Draver. What does Draver do? We're going to talk about it. They do a lot. That's going to be a great show. So also, we know it's the news every Tuesday night. Here we go. Kicking off with, and I'm going to be moving a little quick. Got a late start. I was about a minute or two late. There was a change in OBS, which affected a link, stream key in YouTube. I'll be talking about podcasting here in about 10 minutes. What Trump's election to the White House could mean for EVs. Some of this will be no surprise, expected to send the U.S. EV industry into a period of uncertainty. Republicans have largely condemned EVs, claiming they're being forced upon consumers and that it'll ruin the industry. Trump has vowed to roll back or eliminate many vehicle emission standards under the EPA. So we're reading about, bated breath with headlines there. Now, let's not forget the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA. The IRA of 2022, perhaps the most significant legislation to accelerate transportation electrification in the U.S. There was a new clean vehicle tax credit, many tax credits, but this one was allowing $7,500 per vehicle through 2032 for individuals and businesses of getting an EV. And Elon says delete it. And you know Elon is pretty involved. And he also opposes subsidies. Musk is worth, what is that, $250 billion? And he dismissed the bill's proposed $7.5 billion spending on America's EV network charging station upgrades. Wonder why. Auto industry insiders and other officials have said it would be difficult for Trump to completely gut the IRA, but he could defund or limit EV subsidies through executive orders. And, boy, if he's calling world leaders with Musk, you know he's listening to him. Does Musk play golf? Several Wall Street analysts have speculated legacy automakers, the big three, would be the biggest winners of this second term. And then, of note, GM's aspirations for an all-electric future and profitable EV business in the near term are highly reliant on those federal tax credits. So that's something. And Tesla hits $1 trillion following Trump's election victory. Oh, man. Wow. Musk's advocacy for easing policies and regulation and Trump's plan to impose heavy tariffs on foreign automakers. Oh, no. Tariffs on foreign automakers. Guess what topic is next? You know, Elon has emerged as a key figure in the campaign with an alliance with the Trump-Vance administration. It could shape future auto policies, regulations. How interesting that one of Trump's best friends right now is in our industry. Who would have thought? Let's see. Trump's potential elimination of the EV tax incentive, the tax credit. Now, despite Tesla benefiting from sales made from the tax credit, the overall benefit of impeding foreign automakers from easily entering the U.S. market will outweigh that loss. Musk remains hopeful that his clout with Trump will further benefit the future of EVs, and he claims to create a federal approval process to streamline autonomous vehicle regulations. Another smart move. Yes, those autonomous vehicle regulations. Wow. Man, he's got so many irons in the fire. It's starting to make sense now, right? It's making sense. The strategic alliance between Musk and Trump administration may lead to significant shifts in auto policies which favor Tesla as it navigates this competitive market. And automakers brace for new EV tariffs. Well, tariffs in general. Automakers are bracing for President-elect Donald Trump to impose new tariffs on vehicles from Mexico. Other countries, Trump said he plans to begin rescinding EPA and transportation vehicle rules on his first day in office. Trump has repeatedly warned he will impose tariffs on 200% or more on vehicles imported from Mexico. Could also impose them on Asian, European vehicles. Trump wants to prevent Chinese auto imports, but is open to Chinese automakers building vehicles in the U.S. We're going to give incentives, and if China and other countries want to come here and sell the cars, they're going to build plants here. They're going to hire U.S. workers. The president of site selection firm Strategic Development Group said tariffs will likely result in higher costs. If you're going to cut China out of manufacturing of pieces and parts that feed into automakers and you don't have a Mexico or somewhere else, just don't know how much of it you can do in the U.S. I think we need Mexico more than ever if China is getting cut off. South Korea's trade minister said Wednesday he expected companies from his country to invest more in the U.S. if Trump imposes higher tariffs. So it's definitely having an effect. In fact, Trump election threatens Canadian auto. Oh my goodness. Trump tariffs could cost Canada tens of billions. Trump took an array of policy positions that would affect automotive, including a push this year for 10% tariff on global imports in the U.S. from Canada. If enacted, the move would carve tens of billions of dollars out of Canadian gross domestic product, with the deepest impacts in the auto sector. Such a tariff could also threaten more than half a century of automotive integration between Canada and the U.S., stretching back to the Auto Pact of 1965. Any U.S. policy decisions that temper EV adoption will have significant ramifications for Canada, which has secured more than $50 billion in EV-related investment in the past 3 years, fueled in no small part by expected American demand, which some argue wasn't real demand. Trump administration EV policy also likely to influence product and investment plans for the Detroit 3, which have significant footprints in Canada. Trump's win puts German automakers at the center of the storm. Oh my gosh, everybody's running. Trump's victory in the U.S. presidential election brings risk for European automakers, especially for German brands that export large numbers of cars to the U.S. Trump's re-election likely to lead to a more protectionist trade policy with higher tariffs for vehicles imported from Europe. German automakers are going to literally be in his bullseye. Oh man, during his first term, Trump sought to impose 25% tariff on vehicles imported from Europe. In 2023, about 400,000 cars were exported from Germany to the U.S. First half of 2024, the U.S. was the largest buyer of German car exports. Luckily, BMW is in a good position because they have an assembly plant in Spartanburg, South Carolina. About 2/3 of its U.S. volume produced there. Mercedes-Benz has a large assembly plant in Alabama. Everybody's now looking, oh my God, do we have stuff in the U.S.? And then they got the CARS rule. It's going to have an effect on the CARS rule. The NADA is loving it because they're against the CARS rule. And in fact, the CARS rule was probably on the list of things that Trump supporters would like to get rid of. And it just so happens that he has connections there. FTC non-compete ban is likely dead under Trump because he loves NDAs and non-competes. For decades, Trump has relied broadly on non-disclosure agreements and non-competes, and on it goes. Wow, it is amazing. So deep impact in the industry. We speculated on some of that impact a week ago, and now we're reading. It is all the news. All the news right now is Trump's effect on auto industry. In auto industry news. Which is interesting news, that's the news that I pretty much read. Okay, Used Car Week is next week. If you're gearing up, get ready. Go to usedcarweek.biz. Check out the agenda, the sponsors, the attendee list, social media toolkit. It is 4 days. It is the biggest show. Don't be fooled by all the other shows. This is the big one. It's Used Car Week. If you're not going already, then you'll just keep hearing about it. But you will keep hearing about it because there are so many companies there. Yes, I am even moderating a panel, Lenders Moving Repo Cars. That's on Tuesday morning, next Tuesday morning, the 19th. And we're going to be talking about how do you reduce friction in auto recovery. Finance companies, forwarders, recovery, transportation, auctions, technology, grinding gears. What does it all mean, and why is it happening, and what do we do? So we're going to be talking about that. All right, here we go. What are we talking about? Let's do an inspection on your weekly podcast. Have you suffered enough? Listen, your podcast probably looks pretty great from the outside. People are smiling. You look happy with it. There's pictures of random cats. But how long ago did you plan to release your most recent episode? How long ago did you record that episode, and how long ago did you upload and share that episode? Because now you realize those are separate things on the calendar, and that editing can literally stop you in your tracks, which is why so many podcasters, and there's a lot of them, they've learned to edit in camera, do pre-production, and many people, they're looking for a way out. So how many show ideas have you had that just wouldn't work? How many guests could you not get? How many production errors do you have? Audio glitches, camera settings, lighting issues, and that's just equipment. Then there's the mental side. When you say you're a podcaster, you're basically saying, I'm a filmmaker, a storyteller, actor, writer, director, novelist, poet, blogger, rock star, and truthfully, it is a shitload of work. There are established media and news companies that are still struggling with producing consistent weekly podcasts. Believe me, I've done the homework. I know their names. So before we go into that, all right, let's go back for a minute. Let's go to that breakfast where you came up with all these great ideas to do interviews and training sessions and all this interactive stuff. What was the main idea for thinking that? Or are you trying to build out a brand, website content, search engine optimization, client testimonials to boost sales, maybe all the above? And they're great ideas. And maybe you're still sitting around a small conference room table totally pumped. But where will you record? What will you record on? What equipment do you need? Who's going to record it? Who's going to edit? Who's going to upload? Where do you upload? What if nobody tunes in? How do you let people know about it? How long can you bear having the same 5 people give you a like? I'll bet you can count on one hand how many industry media brands actually published a weekly podcast over a 90-day period. And I'll bet you can count with your thumbs how many of those you actually listen to. So before you splash social media with your next great interview series, check the diving depth on this idea. Is anybody still writing poetry? How's your weekly blog going? I'll make it easy. Have you produced anything monthly for a year? Because as you gear up into your next podcast, just remember, everybody's thinking about how long it's been since you uploaded something new. Have you suffered enough? Call me. And that's the memo. Thank you so much. All right, I promised we would have a great show tonight. ATI is where everyone learns more about how the automotive industry works. New, used, dealer, auction, logistics, and so much more. I don't ship cars. I move information. I'm Jay at ATI. You know about the podcast. You know you can go to ATIautobusiness.com. Leave me a message. And when you see this stuff about brokers, remember, Auto Hauler Exchange is on your side. They're answering your questions. So do me a favor, stick around, because right after this, we're going to be live with Royce Neubauer, CEO, Auto Hauler Exchange. Stick around.
Transport Auto Quoter is by far the leading auto quoting software on the market, and the only auto quoter with a pro version that comes preset with accurate pricing for anywhere in the U.S. So you don't have to worry about it. The best part is that no change with your current software is needed. Just plug TAQ in and start booking jobs. Carriers can easily plug TAQ into their current websites and start making money right away. I bet you're wondering how we do this instantly and accurately 24/7. Well, constant analytics is the key. Our Price Watch team is constantly monitoring current market conditions, paying close attention to seasonal and quick-moving industry changes. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of time and data to maintain good pricing, time that most of us just don't have on a daily basis. So free yourself up. Using TAQ Pro is really a no-brainer. Save time and money, maximizing your leads and optimizing your online investments. You'll finally be able to sleep well at night knowing that TAQ is on the job selling for you 24/7. Never missing a potential job.
All right, we need to brainstorm for this commercial. How do we show our audience that we're the best auto transport platform in the industry?
Oh, we need to show them our dispatch manager. Optimizing routes has never been easier.
We should definitely show them our EDI management screen. Managing contracts is simple with ClearPath's EDI toolkit. Who doesn't want to work with the big manufacturers?
These are all great ideas, but we need to highlight what makes us special.
Sure, we can talk about all our awesome features, but the bottom line is we invest in every single one of our clients, giving them the power to scale up and increase their revenue.
That's perfect.
Auto Hauler Exchange has revolutionized the way vehicle haulers and vehicle shippers collaborate. The Exchange B2B marketplace connects vehicle haulers directly to shippers in a frictionless manner. The Exchange helps vehicle haulers maximize their capacity while eliminating empty miles. The Exchange is the first true B2B marketplace of its kind in the vehicle logistics industry. By connecting carriers and shippers directly, carriers can save time and choose which opportunities fit their needs each day. At the same time, shippers can rest assured that their vehicles are being moved by qualified, vetted carriers who fit their vetting program. The Auto Hauler Exchange has democratized the vehicle logistics industry by eliminating the middleman and connecting shippers directly to available carriers.
Why does a broker take a percentage of every load you move when clearly you could be working directly with carriers? Go around the broker. Get faster car shipping. Visit AutoHaulerExchange.com. Link is in the live chat. All right, here we go. Please do help me wish a warm welcome to CEO of Auto Hauler Exchange, Royce Neubauer. Royce, can you see me and hear me okay?
I can see you and hear you okay, Jay. It's great to be on again. Thank you.
Okay, great. It's great to have you back. I can see you. I can hear you. Mic check 1 2 3. Please do leave a like for Royce is here with us. Royce, it's great to see you.
You as well.
Why don't we jump in with introductions and tell us a little bit more about you and Auto Hauler Exchange?
Yeah, I'm Royce Neubauer, founder and CEO of Auto Hauler Exchange. A little bit about my background. I've been in the freight industry for about 25 years. Started with a startup brokerage at the time in Cincinnati, Ohio, that's grown to become the second largest freight brokerage firm in the U.S. Left that business about 15 years ago to start my own brokerage. I primarily lived in the food and consumable goods world for most of my life in logistics, and our brokerage launched a vehicle logistics division back in late 2019, early 2020. And it was exciting. It was a new frontier for me. I quickly learned that the vehicle logistics world and the freight world are very, very different beasts. Vehicle logistics was somewhat of the wild, wild west compared to freight when I first was introduced to the industry. A lot of fragmentation, a lot of, I would say, different moving parts that weren't communicating together in an efficient manner. And it was about a year and a half after we launched our brokerage that I came up with the concept and the mindset that I was the problem. We were the problem in vehicle logistics. Brokers were blocking the transport of goods throughout the network from shippers and from carriers alike. So we wanted to make sure that we created an ecosystem, an environment to allow shippers and carriers to collaborate together, and for brokers just to simply get the hell out of the way.
Wow. So I heard you say broker many times.
Yeah.
And then you just said, we are the problem.
We are the problem.
Okay. So,
and I'm not, let's just be clear. I still own a brokerage. It's still in freight. We blew up our vehicle division mostly last year. We shipped our last car at some point this year. We had some contracts we had to clean up, but I physically went to every one of our shippers and said, listen, I understand we're successfully shipping your vehicles. I understand we have a great platform, but within a year and a half, we will no longer be able to ship your cars. Let me show a new frontier, a new opportunity to allow you to build your carrier networks throughout the country, to allow you to partner with thousands of carriers directly. And a lot of our shipper partners questioned it at first. But to a man, we have slowly aggregated every one of those shippers from our brokerage model into Auto Hauler Exchange, and now they're building their own carrier networks through our marketplace.
Okay, did you see a shift? What made you come to this realization? I mean, you're making me think of analogies right now, but what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, I never loved being the middleman, and I never loved negotiating against my shipper and negotiating against my carrier partner. So, I'd spent 10 years working for a very large brokerage and decided to start my own brokerage with a different concept. We wanted to truly build relationships between carrier and shipper. We wanted to build long-term partnerships between our carrier partners and our shippers' opportunities. There's a necessary need for the brokerage community when it comes to paying carriers and properly vetting carriers, but we weren't seeing that being done in a very efficient manner and in a very, I think, honest manner throughout the vehicle space. We saw a lot of large brokerages, large fleets starting brokerages, and they were consuming 80-90% of all shipping opportunities, right? And they were just depressing that market down to the carriers that were sitting out there trying to live off scraps. And that's really how we saw the industry from a holistic view. So when we really sat down with our shippers, we started asking them, what is your biggest problem? Why are you utilizing brokers every single day rather than just trying to go directly with carriers? And two things popped up. Number one, they didn't know how to really access carriers throughout the country. They didn't trust certain load boards that might have been available to them. They didn't want to build out like an entire TMS system, so they were tracking and tracing. They just trusted their brokers to do the job for them. And that's kind of what the industry fell into, I believe, over the last 10 to 15 years. Whereas brokers were growing, I think the mindset and concept of a broker made sense, but more and more brokers were entering the vehicle logistics landscape, and eventually they just consumed and monopolized the market. And when we were entered the market, we quickly grew, right? We brought over a lot of freight concepts to vehicle logistics that just weren't there. You know, the idea that if you get a shipment tendered to you today, you should pick it up today. You shouldn't wait 5, 10, 15 days to pick up that vehicle. The idea that your shipper is your boss, is your customer, and it is your job to give them the best possible service at the best possible price point. That's what a broker does. That's what a good broker should be doing. The way I looked at it, and I simply said, well, if I can just create a simple ecosystem to allow shippers to not have to manage all the headaches of building out a freight team or building out a team of carriers, let the technology manage a lot of those headaches for them and allow them to collaborate directly with those carriers to have a carrier network that fits their need and to have shippers that fit the carrier's need. That was one of the biggest problems when I talked to shippers and brokers in the community, was nobody was really looking out for the carrier. It was, how do I solve the shipper's problem? How do I solve the shipper's problem? I need to solve this dealer's problem. I need to ship this OEM's car. And then I'm here in Metro Detroit and I see auto hauler after auto hauler driving with 4 or 5 empty spots on their trailer. I said, well, if we're all trying to solve the shipper's problem, why the heck are so many auto haulers driving empty? So my mindset was, let's just open up every opportunity in Metro Detroit. Let's open up every opportunity in Kansas City, in Chicagoland, in Tennessee, wherever the shippers are adding value and pushing cars out, and let the carriers decide who they want to go work for. If there's 10 units at this one particular shipper and I've got 2 10-car haulers, well, that's only one truck I can load. But if I can have access to see 15 other shippers in that market, I'm going to have the ability to fill out my truck and allow my drivers to generate more revenue by maximizing the capacity on their trailer. So in the broker model, if I've got one shipper that I'm partnered with, I'm going to block other opportunities until I get that shipment covered. I don't care if that truck's full or not. And brokers can say what they want. That's not their main concern. Their main concern is making a profit on that singular shipment. What our marketplace provides for is it allows the carrier to decide which shippers they're going to work for in every community that they operate in. There's nobody telling them who they can and cannot work for. There's nobody telling them, no, you can only pick up 2 cars from this shipper, and then you have to race over here and pick up 2 cars from this shipper because I need those 4 cars picked up. Our marketplace democratizes that opportunity where they pick and choose which opportunities they put on their truck on a day-to-day basis.
Gosh, you make me think about several things that I don't normally think of when I think about brokers or load boards. But I want to say travel agent is the analogy I jump to. Like, I guess we all used travel agents because we didn't know. We didn't have access to the information.
Valid.
And now that we do, right, why would you call a travel agent? There's very few scenarios, I think, now where you actually would call.
Very few scenarios. You know, I think if you're traveling overseas or something like that,
Right.
you're wondering about hotels and, you know, communication. But if I'm traveling in the United States with my family, I'm not calling a travel agent to book my hotel in Dallas, Texas. Right?
It'd be hilarious.
I'm going online, I'm booking my flight through American or Delta, or whoever you fly with, and then you're finding in either a hotel or an Airbnb or whatever, right? All of those are marketplaces that you're utilizing. Right? You go to Expedia.com, you go to Kayak, those are marketplaces that give you access to the travel opportunities in front of you, whether it's your lodging, your rental car, or your flight. All they're doing is opening up that access.
And it seems once you start thinking this way, you can identify many markets.
Oh,
where
yes.
You're longer relying on a middleman.
100%.
The philosophy of I never loved being the middleman really makes me wonder how far over the precipice we want to stare into the abyss of what it is that we're still doing.
Yeah, and you can look at, I mean, there's a lot of people that spent hundreds of billions of dollars that tried to democratize the freight world. Uber Freight was one of those companies, Convoy was one of those companies, and they were backed by some of the largest companies in the world. And I think the idea of creating a marketplace around freight still holds true. It's a great idea and concept, but if you look at freight as a whole, there are so many different micro verticals. Shipping food is very different than shipping construction grade materials, which is different than shipping medical grade materials, which is different than shipping containers, and all these different micro verticals where they're segmented into certain regulations, right? So as my brokers was becoming more efficient, I just knew that there was no way to democratize all the commodities we were shipping. And then we started shipping cars, and I found a micro vertical that was very specific. It was very siloed in its approach. When I interviewed OEMs about what problems they were having, it was access to trucks. When I interviewed carriers about what problems they were having, it was, I don't get enough opportunities from my shipping partners. Well, who are your shipping partners? They would simply reel off 5 brokers and a couple load boards they were using. Like, well, that's really no part. Like, you don't have actual customers then. Well, yeah, my brokers pay my bills and I just give them, I take what they give me. Where my mindset was that I hated that idea. And I wanted to give control back to the carrier and say, you know what? If I've got a shipping partner that's going to publish opportunities directly to thousands of carriers, and then you as the carrier can go build relationship with that shipping partner, do it. We're going to give you access to their phone numbers, emails. You can contact the shipper direct. And the reason I'm not afraid of that carrier going direct with that shipper, number one, I kind of hope they do at some point in time. On anything that they can build a relationship on, go build it. But I know our marketplace is providing more and more opportunities to that carrier than that one singular shipper can provide, because we're aggregating hundreds of carriers in their market or shipments in their market to allow them to fill out their trucks. And we allow the shipper and carrier to collaborate on every single shipment. And we don't block anybody from working directly with each other. Me as a broker, my brokerage has contracts with my shipping partners. They are not allowed to contract directly with my carriers that I send to them. My carriers have the same contract. They cannot contract directly with the shipper I just sent them to. Within the auto hauler exchange, there's no contracts. It's frictionless sign-on onboarding for carriers, no fee to be living in the ecosystem, no fee to pull shipments out. For the shipping partner, there is no fee for them to log in. There's no SaaS fee. There's no monthly fee. There's no onboarding fee. It's, if you have shipping opportunities and you want to build an ecosystem around that of carriers to get your cars moved faster, then this is the product for you. And as soon as they get in the product and start living in it, we don't see them leave. We see them collaborating and partnering with 10 or 15 carriers in their market, but they're not marketing directly to those carriers. They're marketing to the ecosystem. And the same carriers tend to start picking off the same shipments from the same shippers because they're building that relationship. But that carriers that might be in Metro Detroit or might be in Metro Chicago, they're building that relationship with 15, 20, 30 shippers in that market. Now they've got a trusted source that helps aggregate all these shipments for them, gives them the back end, dashboard to help them manage payments and manage those shipments free of charge. And it's giving them backload and reload opportunities across the country so they can expand their network. So what our system provides for the carrier is opportunities to see shipments live directly from shippers. And what it provides for the shipper is a system that's going to manage the carrier. We're managing their, I saw one of the, I think he had mentioned, he had a guy in one of the last podcasts that I watched, and he was talking about, how do you even monitor the carriers? There's not a lot of systems out there that do it properly. Actually, there are. I've been in the brokerage side for a long time, and there's a couple of really, really sophisticated systems. You just have to be able to access them and integrate them into your tech. And if you're a good digital, broker or shipper, you will have the access to these types of monitoring systems. And they're scrubbing the carrier's insurance, DOT safety ratings, their scales in and out of DOT stops. Every single day, our system's updating this every couple of hours. So we know the carriers that are entering our marketplace are legitimate, safe carriers that have good safety ratings, that have strong insurance that they're paying for, that's real. And we probably, I would say you can ask Dana, she's going to have a much stronger answer to this than me, but I think it's about a third of the carriers that try to get set up within the auto hauler exchange get rejected. And that's not because we don't want them to work. We want them to have the proper insurance, the proper authority, proper safety ratings. If you can get those things and you're in satisfactory condition with the FMCSA and the DOT, then you're going to get access to all the opportunities in our marketplace. But if you're fraudulent and you don't have the proper paperwork and documentation that we can track through our system, you're not getting access. It's just that simple.
So you mentioned Dana. I think that this is a good time. Dana, if you're ready, here we go. Drum roll, please. I'll go to camera 1. Okay, Dana, I'm admitting you to the meeting right now. Please do step in and say hello. And please do jump in the live chat. I see some messages here, and that's awesome. Thank you for chiming in. Please keep it coming. If you miss this live stream, many folks listen and watch on demand. Feel free to comment below, and let's do this. Dana. Check. She's checking her audio. And we're live. It's always that, live stream stumble, right? Like I have it in the beginning too, Can you see me and hear me okay, Dana?
Yes, can you see and hear me?
I can see you. I can hear you. Dana, welcome back. Please do say hello again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on again. I might sound a little extra nasally tonight.
Okay.
If that was even possible.
Okay.
A little bit of a cold right now.
Michigan fall weather.
Michigan fall. It's. I think I'm confused. I don't know if it's a cold or allergies because it's like 70 degrees and 60 degrees and 30 degrees. So it's very confusing what's happening right now for me. So I apologize, but
jumping around. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on. My name's Dana Randazzo. I'm Chief Operating Officer of Auto Hauler Exchange. So it's very exciting to be here and to really dive into some questions and concerns that we found online that we would like to address directly because we are transparent.
Yes. Well, that is the name of the game. So, okay, this was a great idea. I think Lindy, right, said, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I love it. So you should be able to share your screen whenever you're ready. What we're doing, guys, is live. We are, Auto Hauler Exchange is sharing comments from whether it's my videos or I guess other places, LinkedIn, YouTube, that they've gotten from carriers. I believe it's mostly carriers, right?
Yeah, I think it's actually the first one's a CEO.
Oh, okay. And these are actual comments that aren't, they're not 100% positive, but they're legitimate. Hey, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to address some comments. So please do, again, if you've got a question or a comment, put it in the live chat, put it in the comments below this video, and then, whoops, I clicked my share. Okay, Dana, you should be ready to go when you're ready.
All right.
All right, and I see some, I'm just going to read this. Right, examples of, and the FMCSA is also talking about brokers. This is great timing. Okay, Dana, take it away. What do we got here? What's this first one?
Okay, this first one we have here. So it looks like they're concerned about vetting carriers. So as long as someone or something is vetting the carriers, as you've seen, fraud is as rampant as it currently is. Vehicles being loaded, never seen again. Central Dispatch doesn't vet. FMCSA isn't always accurate, so software can't just scrape their site to generate carrier approvals. So if the platform's actually vetted, so.
Yeah, I think this is a great one that is a hot topic in the industry. We've actually picked up, I would say, about 20 shippers this year because of theft that they experienced through their previous partners. The vetting system within anything automotive should not be manual. There are multiple partners, there's multiple vendor partners that you can tie your system through, tie your TMS system through, to where every DOT number, MC number that goes into your carrier onboarding process should be done in the click of a button. For instance, at Auto Hauler, it takes less than 5 minutes for our system to accurately vet that carrier. We are tied to what I believe is the most sophisticated vetting system in the country when it comes to anybody, any carrier with the DOT number. Our system's going to scrub not just the FMCSA, but the DOT and scale stations around the country, insurance, and it is scanning these carriers daily, multiple times a day. Dane, I think I stated earlier when you were in the waiting room, is it about a third of the carriers that our system rejects? Yeah. That's important. That tells us that the product we're utilizing is working, number one. But it's also a coaching moment for a lot of the carriers. I think a lot of smaller carriers, especially, they don't realize if they're went to a conditional rating with the FMCSA or they don't have the right insurance to ship for specific shippers. So our system is flagging the value of the vehicles that our shippers are putting in. And if a carrier, if their insurance requirements aren't matching that particular shipper, they're not going to have access to that shipper. So we want to give them the ability to have access to as many shipments as possible, but they have to have the proper insurance, they have to have the proper authority. And quite frankly, you should never be doing this manually. If you are, you're going to fail. This should be an automated process that is done digitally and done every single day, multiple times a day. And our system does have the ability to scrub the proper metrics in the network to make sure the carriers in the auto hauler exchange are strong, viable carriers that have the right paperwork, documentation, and insurance in place. Now I don't know if I can agree with Cope 100%. There are some good brokers out there, let's be honest. But
yes,
I do believe with the mindset that Brian is stating here, brokers are stripping freight to the damn bone. In every industry across the globe, fee compression is real. I don't care if you're a stockbroker, a mortgage broker, freight broker, you're getting fee compression every single day. And that simply goes down to the carrier network. There's no question about it. And I mentioned it earlier, Jay, being the middleman, isn't enjoyable all the time, right? So at the end of the day, what we've built with Auto Hauler Exchange is to get that fee compression out of the way. And, I think you're still a broker is kind of BS. That's an interesting comment. There's no facts there. But I can see the confusion between what we're marketing and a lot of brokers are marketing today. There's a lot of brokers out there that are loving calling themselves a marketplace today, which is just false advertising in my mindset. And you can have a load board or you can have an internal marketplace, but it doesn't make you a true B2B marketplace. And the main differences around that are a broker is a middleman. A broker is the intermediary. The broker is the one controlling the conversation. The broker is the one negotiating directly with the shipper, negotiating directly with the carrier, and then deciding for both parties who the carrier is going to be and who the carrier is going to work for. A marketplace, a true marketplace, acts as the intermediary. There's nobody in the middle negotiating. And that's the different concept that I think people are having troubles wrapping their heads around until they're in the product. And the biggest difference, and even with a lot of our shipper partners, initially, Jay, when we sit down with a dealer and we simply say, yeah, the system is the intermediary. And then their biggest question is, well, what if there's a problem? Who's going to handle this? Who's going to handle that? And my response back to them is, if you're having that many problems in the transaction, you're working with the wrong brokers in the first place. A good partner, there should not be a lot of problems to manage. And quite frankly, technology has gotten us to a point today that it is sophisticated enough that you don't need that middleman anymore. And there's no reason why the technology can't vet the carrier for you. The technology can't pay the carrier for you. The technology can't give you access to tens of thousands of carriers around the country and allow you as the shipper to set the negotiation parameters however you feel is right. So our system will allow a negotiation, but that negotiation happens between the carrier and the shipper directly. They have the ability to communicate in a digital format to say, you know what, I want this shipment as a carrier, but I need $25 more a car or $50 more a car. The shipper has the ability to allow a bid for that vehicle shipment. And then the collaboration is tied to those two parties. There's no middleman saying, no, that's just too much. I don't think my shipper's going to pay that, Mr. Carrier. Or no, Mr. Shipper, I need $25 more per car. And then going back to the carrier, not giving it to them. Whatever is marketed on our marketplace, whatever that dollar amount is, that's exactly what the carrier gets. It's not what I've posted as a broker on my own internal load board, or I decide to post on an external load board, then I negotiate it separately. Whatever dollar amount a carrier sees in the Auto Hauler Exchange marketplace is the dollar amount the carrier gets paid. That is a major, major difference between anything you'll see a broker pushing out to market.
I think it's also important to highlight that the shipper is aware of the rate that is posted.
The shipper is posting the rate that's
Oh my gosh.
The shipper is posting it.
Do all shippers? Okay,
There's no secret about it.
There's
Yeah,
no
but-
secret. Every single shipment that is on the Auto Hauler Exchange Day, the rate that is posted came directly from the shipper.
Right. Okay, right. Thank you. Because I'm thinking, I when Sue and I look at load board stuff, I've said it so many times. Does the shipper know what the broker posted this for?
Sometimes if they do their research, but most of
Oh my gosh.
99% of the time, no.
No, I'm sure they right. Yeah, and then do they know that when the carrier calls in to book it at that rate, now it's can you do it for $50 less? Can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, oh my god.
And that's
Wow.
one of the things that a marketplace offers. It's offering a broader range of services to both parties involved, right? So our product is offering analytics to our shippers so they can actually understand what their true logistics spend is. We're also offering the same analytics to the carrier partners where they are seeing what shippers in their market are willing to pay. What people have to realize, markets are set by supply and demand. It's that simple. Now they can be manipulated by certain parties. If one party has enough of the supply in a specific market, they can manipulate the demand. So that's what brokers have done over the past decade in this space. They've manipulated the demand opportunity to the carriers, and they've been able to manipulate pricing. Now, if the pricing's coming direct from the shipper, and we'll tell our shippers, Jay, the market's going to dictate if you price that correctly or not. Our system will aggregate and scrub all our data and all the analytics that we can pull out of the industry and say, this is probably a good rate to move that car at, but it's your choice, Mr. Shipper. You can pay whatever the heck you want. And we'll see a shipment that gets posted from time to time way too cheap, and carriers will start to come in and bid on that shipment. Then our system will push an update to the shipper stating, you've had 10 bids on this shipment that are X amount higher than what you're marketing it at. You're never going to move that car unless you move that price point, right? So it's educating the shipper on where the market is yielding today, but it does the same thing if they post a car way too high and it's plucked off in 10 seconds. Doesn't tell them not to post it at that. It's just saying, hey, if you want to move cars in 10 seconds, that's the right rate, because it's happening every time you post it at that rate. So the shippers decide how quickly they need to move their vehicles and how quickly they want to up that rate in a specific market. Our system does not, we're not negotiating anything. We're not changing anything. It allows the shipper the right data, but it also gives the carrier to go through and say, you know what, there's 50 cars posted in Metro Detroit. These are posted at a better rate than these. I'm going to go grab the better rate right now. So the carrier can decide who they're going to work for on a day-to-day basis, and they have full visibility of every car posted in that market that day.
Or you just maybe think of another data point that the shipper probably doesn't get from the broker that posted a load. The carrier calls in, ready to book it. They can't for whatever reason because of the money and the negotiating. But the shipper never finds out that that guy called in, was ready to do it.
Yeah.
Never.
No.
No. So
In fact, they're just saying, no, nothing happened. There were
we
no
want to
fights
show
on the
them.
line.
We'll show them the data on who's bidding on their opportunities,
Yeah.
when the bid went in, how many bids they got that day, to better educate them on what they need to pay to move their vehicles.
You know, I want to say, because I'm willing to jump in, take sides, look at it from all angles. I also agree that there are probably some boutique brokers that are helping in situations. I'm not saying that there are no brokers, no needed, not anywhere. But there are so many. Yeah, there's so many instances as time has moved forward. And wasn't it technology that showed us the need for connect? Like, that's why you had a switchboard operator connecting phone lines. You don't have one of those now.
Yeah, no.
You don't just pay someone to do that just because you don't want them to be out of that switchboard job.
No,
100%.
now. 100%. And honestly, technology is what created the broker. Yeah. Quite frankly, when I first started brokering, we were calling trucks out of phone books. Not a very efficient process. Then all of a sudden, the first load boards were created. Then search engines were created. And now I could aggregate and go find more carriers much more efficiently, right? It's all evolved, right? And I think we've finally gotten to a point where the tech has taken us to an arena that, even though the technology 25 years is what kind of created the modern day broker, it's gotten us to a point where we can replace the modern day broker.
Right. The modern day broker would go through the phone books and the fax machines and all that stuff. But now that every carrier has the mobile app, I think that's where we've arrived.
Yeah, and I love you bringing up the mobile app. There's 50 of them in the market. Some are a lot better than others. And we're a product company. A lot of people need to realize we're not just bringing a vehicle logistics product to the vehicle world. We're evolving beyond that, and we're building more, I would say, value-added products within Auto Hauler Exchange to take to the carriers, to take to the shippers. But we also don't want to force certain apps down carriers' throats. We're not building a driver app. We'll integrate every driver app that's in the market into our system so the carrier can choose which app they want to work with. I don't want them to change their systems just so they can get shipments from shippers on our product. We're not going to force any specific apps on them. We have to do track and trace because every shipper requires it today. And the biggest reason is because of theft. But if I've got Super Dispatch or I've got Hulk or I've got whatever else that you're using, go ahead and use that app. It integrates into our system. We're okay with that.
Right. Well, and that is actually that's the next ring, is that, connecting and APIs, etc. All right, Dana, we've done 2.
I'm passionate about this, Jay. I'm sorry.
I love it. I know, it's great.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Let's try 3. This one.
Jay, you did say we have all night.
All night.
Yeah. So this is the comment about Uber. So pick and choose the absolute lowest rate.
Yeah.
Uber has monopolized freight like other large brokers for top dollar from the shipper, and then parcel it off to carriers for more than half of the rate.
I don't know where this comes from.
Liars.
I don't know how we're bastard liars. Uber and Uber Freight are 2 different companies. They do not really coexist under the fact that they're publicly traded under the Uber brand. Uber Freight is the 4th largest broker, I believe, in the country right now. Not going to make comments on Uber Freight. I don't work with Uber Freight. We've never really collaborated with them. Uber, though, the ride-sharing service is an evolution, right, in the cab industry. And I think a lot of people, and I think the analogy one of our team members might have made, or I might have made, is I didn't realize I had a better option than waiting for a cab on a street corner for an hour until a company like Uber and Lyft arrived. And then I can book it on my phone. I can pick the rate I want. I can select how quickly I want the car. If I want to pay more to get a car quicker, I can. If I want to pay less to get a car slower, I can. They gave me that optionality by democratizing the availability of drivers in my specific market at that time. And if you look at a true 2-sided B2B marketplace, that's a B2C marketplace, but that's what that does. That's what it allows for. It allows for the freedom of choice, the freedom of rate, the freedom of selection for buyer and seller. And that's what a marketplace does. And that's how it should truly operate. And the only comparison we can say is we feel like we're doing a similar trade or creating a similar opportunity for the vehicle logistics space between shipper and carrier.
All right. Comment number 4, and keep it coming live, chat.
All right. I do think these days the shippers going on these post loads just to let carriers fight over and kill rate amongst themselves. You call them, they will say, Fred, quote me X money. What would you do for it? Then, okay, let me get back with you. Then wait for the next guy to cut your rate. Happens every day.
Yeah, I think there is quite a bit of that, especially with the brokerage model. Quite frankly, that's what I did as a broker for 10 years when I was brokering freight. That's what the brokerage model is built on. I think if you're looking at a direct business to business or business to business model like the auto hauler exchange, a lot of 99% of our shippers are too busy to negotiate on any shipments. So the shipments negotiation is a digital transformation. So when a shipper is putting in a shipment, they have the ability to put in a set rate. Like, I'm only going to pay X for every shipment, or, hey, I would love to get it done at this number X, but I'm willing to pay up to Y. And then if the carrier goes in and sees that bid option open, they can go in and start bidding on that shipment. And if it fits within that dollar amount, it's an auto tender. It's automatically accepted, and it pushes to the shipper and says, hey, you had a bid that fit within your dollar amount, your parameters. It was accepted this dollar amount. That's what you're paying. And this is your carrier's information. Driver's cell phone, dispatcher's number. This is the driver's ETA. You can collaborate, call with the driver if anything changes or you need to communicate any different information. There's no new negotiation at that point in time. The shipment's already booked in the system, and now the carrier is locked in at that rate, and the shipper is responsible for paying that rate.
I mean, it is a first come, first serve. It's not like we're not having them bid it out to each other. We're not taking the one bid and say, like, I got another bid over here. It's...
Yeah, carrier grabs a shipment. They grab a shipment.
That rate is posted. And the shipper really is, I mean, obviously their dollar amount counts too, right? Every day that vehicle's off the lot, and for a dealership, it's costing them money. And there's costs that they're going involved in as well too. And they are trying to get it moved at the market rate. That's the whole point of like bids and analytical data that we have on there as well. And even to touch base on the analytical data, you're on the exchange long enough too. Something you wouldn't see, quite honestly, with a broker is you're not going to see the market change. Like right now, the market's changing, right? Because now we're in snowbird season in certain areas of where we're from too. We're going to get into winter season. So that rate that you pay, it's going to be different October, November, December, as opposed to June, July, August. Our shippers see it. So they are aware when they know when they buy from that auction or they're transporting that lane, I'm going to have to bump it up this time of year. But I know that the market's going to come down a little bit in July, so maybe I'll put it $50 less, $100 less, whatever it might be. But it's not trying to have them fight it out. Everyone wants the best cost, but it's aggregated data. It's a fair market value is what they're trying to get.
Maybe there's also some kind of social component in the future here. Hear me out. Is that, it's all about the rate, how low or how high, and here it is in the comments. Just let them fight it out. But at some point, there's the movie where Jack Nicholson will pay twice, 3 times, 4 times to get the waitress he wants. Isn't there a point at which we will pay a little more to get the vendor we want?
I love what you're stating there, and there is a social component to this at some point in time. So we are building in the abilities for our shippers. Like I stated earlier, I want them building relationships. If they find 20 carriers in their market they love, well, then they should have the ability to market to those carriers first if they so choose, right? And we have shippers that are saying, hey, I've worked with these 5 mom and pops for the last decade, but they're not able to pick up my cars when I need them to all the time. Can I just send the shipments to them first, and whatever they can grab tomorrow, I just let them grab, and then I market everything on an auto? I'm like, yeah, you do what you want. It's your relationships. I said, you can also put them on Auto Hauler or ask them to sign up, and you can market directly to them first, or they can also have more opportunities to get backhauls to get to your opportunities quicker. The reason they're getting stuck in certain markets and they can't get to you fast enough is because they're getting hung out by brokers in markets that they just don't have relationships in. And so now hopefully those same carriers can build relationships in these ancillary markets to get back to you quicker. And we are building that mindset around the relationship. And we've seen this with a lot of our shippers, Jay, where I look at logistics from I would say a holistic lens. I'm not looking at just the cost of that shipment. If I'm a dealer and I buy a vehicle at auction and it takes me 10 days to get that car, I've just lost depreciation, I've lost interest, and I may not be able to inspect that car fast enough for my arbitration period. This could be a massive loss for me because my broker decided to pay a truck $25 less per car to move those cars, right? Within our platform, our system's going to give them the fair market rate to where they're going to know if they market that opportunity, the average time to pick up that car is going to be 12 to 24 hours. So they're okay paying a little bit more per vehicle because the holistic cost of the transaction is saving them hundreds of dollars per vehicle if they're getting it in 2 to 3 days versus 10 to 12 days.
Right. So then there's almost a social component to the load itself. What's the urgency of the load?
100%.
I know as a dispatcher, I worked with this carrier. He was great. He had like 3 trailers, and just everybody did what they said they were going to do. So I could call a dealer and say, hey, we're going to be in the area again this week. We just hauled for you. What do you have? And it's like, oh, yeah, well, I got a few sitting in the lot. You can just have them. Just get them done by the end of the week. Great. Everyone's
and our
happy.
system allows
No
the
haggling.
carrier to not negotiate, but tell the shipper when they can pick the vehicles up. So there have been instances where a carrier is checking out vehicles, but the ETA window doesn't match the shipper's ETA. And then the shipper will actually begin to market that car for a higher dollar amount because they have to get it picked up quicker. So we want to be able to let those two collaborate. Like, hey, I want your cars, but I can only pick it up in 3 days at that rate. Well, what if I paid you $50 more per car? Can you get them today? We want them to have that ability, right? So, but we also want both shipper and carrier to receive the best service. And it doesn't service the carrier if they get sent into a shipper and the shipper greets the carrier and the shipper's like, all right, so you're going to be able to deliver these in tomorrow? And the carrier's like, no, I'm going to run out of hours of service. I'll deliver it in 4 days. Well, then the shipper's going to immediately cancel that carrier and go try to find a truck that can get them delivered tomorrow. Our system's handling all this flow of information, so the carrier knows exactly the expectation the shipper and receiver have, and the shipper knows the ability of what that carrier is going to be able to provide before the transaction is complete. That builds trust. That builds transparency.
And I think what you just said is one of the reasons why brokerages do what they do is they're managing the phone calls of what you just said.
Plus,
But
they
if
want to
it
keep
can-
they want to keep the transaction.
want to keep control.
They don't want
of
it to
as
get
well.
handed to somebody else.
Exactly. But if it could be managed through complicated technology, dare I say AI, right? But you know, I just wrote this down too. Is that this is so in the panel I'm moderating at Used Car Week, we're talking about auto recovery friction, lender, repo, transportation, auction, technology. I have said, you know, if you can get connected with a transportation technology that can understand people's clocks and help what repo agencies really need, because a lot of repo agents are now doing their own car hauling, it shows they need to build lanes with carriers. They don't have them. If you're posting, there's many technologies now that post random loads
Yep.
to people that they don't know anything about that repo agency. And you do need to know certain things about certain agencies to be the kind of vendor they're looking for. Anyways, I don't know who's going to figure it out, but there's an opportunity there. How many more slides do we have? You got some more slides?
We have a couple slides. I think this is a big one because
Okay, take it away.
I'm going to share
Wow.
this one. Get this one. You have to be charging a fee for using your network.
We do. We charge our shippers a fee on every successful transaction. They know that fee up front before they ever market an opportunity on the exchange. And they know they're not going to get charged unless that vehicle was shipped successfully. So we tell them that, listen, at the end of the day, you know what you're paying the carrier. You know how quickly you're going to ship and receive that vehicle. And when that transaction is successful, we're going to charge you a fee. That's it. We do charge quick pay fees on the carrier side. That is no different than a bank charging a finance fee. We are floating the capital, and this is one of the biggest reasons brokers have consumed the market, not just in vehicle logistics, but in freight to some degree, because brokers have become the finance arm for the shipper in the vehicle logistics space. Brokers are paying carriers much faster than OEMs are willing to pay a trucking company, much faster than a dealership or a marketer is willing to pay a trucking company. And a lot of these trucks have to get paid same day, which is fine, but we have to take money out of our lender to float that capital because we're waiting 40 days from our shippers or 60 days from our OEMs to get paid on the transaction. So that is a pass-through that we're charging the carrier on whatever our finance arm is. And what we'll tell a lot of our carriers that if you need quick pay, there are factoring opportunities outside of just a quick pay. Try to find a good, strong factor. Factoring's not really big in vehicle logistics. It's much bigger in the freight world. Or, talk to us. Try to extend your terms so that we don't have to charge you that fee. And if you're getting the ability to maximize your trailer capacity and you're getting backhauls and you're driving fewer empty miles, your finance gets stronger. So you want to stretch that as long as you can as a carrier. And at the end of the day, we have to be able to not lose money on the transaction with the shipper. And at the end of the day, if we're charging a bank fee, we're getting charged a bank fee, we have to pass that through on any quick pays that we're pushing. That's what that fee is. But our fee to our shipper, that is upfront, it's transparent. It is not getting taken out of the shipment charge that you're seeing marketed on the Auto Hauler Exchange. It is just simply a line item to the shipper when we bill them. You paid the carrier X, we charged you Y on top of that.
And since we've already talked about bids, I just want to add, bids are happening all the time. Carriers are saying, hey, I can pick this up tomorrow, deliver the next day, but I need $50 more on it. And that is not stopping the shippers.
They're accepting 90% of the bids that are coming through.
You just said something really interesting there. I think it's dispatchers, as they help carriers stay loaded. Nobody even questions asking for $50. It's a car. $50 should never be a problem in booking a car to move. And that's why when it is, and you get pushback from a broker at just $25, I'm thinking, are we still talking about a car?
No, you're talking about his rate.
Right. What are we doing? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And that's what we've built in the automotion, Jay. Like a lot of people, I mean, these are group sales managers or GMs of stores. They don't have time to sit there and haggle with a truck, right? And honestly, the truck doesn't have time to go haggle with them. They want to keep their wheels moving. So we built in the automation to say, all right, listen, that's fine. If you want to try to get it done cheap, below market, do what you need to do. But our system is telling you it's not going to move. You need to put in a range to get that car moved. And by putting in that range, it's giving the carrier an opportunity to generate more revenue, but it's also showing the shipper that this is the cost of doing business in this particular market. It's transparent. It's showing exactly what you're paying the truck and how much the truck needs to move that particular vehicle that day. So it's giving them all the data, and as they put in more VINs, they're getting more shipment data out of their own markets to where now they understand how much it's going to cost if they buy from this auction or they buy from that auction. So they're willing to go ahead and pay for it because they're seeing the value of the product, getting the cars to them so much quicker by paying a fair market rate and eliminating that middleman negotiation that's slowing everything down.
One of them I could just quickly address. It actually,
go ahead.
It asks, are we just auto haulers? Yeah, yes. It's auto haulers.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we've been asked the question, do we move mobile homes? Do we move boats? Now we talked about earlier, Jay, there are different verticals, micro verticals this could apply to. But we're solely focused on just vehicles today. Yes.
Yeah. Smart. I will say I'm looking at one. Okay, so Moosey's talking about the FMCSA.
Yeah.
About organizing vehicles for transportation. What does the FMCSA say about? And I believe he says organizing, and I think their term is arranging for the movement of freight, right?
Yeah, I think we had this. Go ahead, if there's more. We had this conversation about what is a load board a brokerage, right?
Right, that's it.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. From my knowledge of 25 years in the brokerage arena, what makes you a broker is you taking responsibility of that shipment from the shipper. It's not organizing the shipment. So as a broker, when you go to an OEM, or you go to I don't care if you're shipping grocery or whatever, it doesn't matter. And I go to that shipper and I say, I can move these particular lanes for this particular amount, and I'm going to ensure that they get there safely, which means I'm taking the authority on myself. Okay, then I'm selling those shipments on the open market to carriers, and it's my job to make sure that truck has the proper authority, insurance, DOT, right, to ship it themselves. And then I'm managing that shipment from point A to point B as an intermediary. A marketplace, number one, never takes ownership of the shipment. We're not guaranteed a payment. We're not guaranteed a rate on anything unless the shipper and carrier agree to work with each other. So the shipper is taking responsibility for that shipment. And then the carrier, as soon as they accept that shipment, they immediately take responsibility for the goods. So the collaboration is between shipper and carrier, and they decide to work with each other. The middleman or the product never decides who's working with who. It just creates an environment for those two parties to work together. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Leads to another question that we have.
Yeah.
So one of the questions is, so who communicates with the transporter for getting the job? The buyer or the seller?
Whoever's responsible for the payment of that shipment, whoever pushed it into the marketplace.
Yeah.
So if it's the buyer that bought the cars from auction and they're responsible for transport and they push the vehicles into the exchange, then the carrier will be contacted or be in collaboration with the buyer. But our product forces the whoever's in charge of that shipment to have the right shipping and delivery details, right? So they have to have the right pickup windows. They have to have the right information, gate passes, all those things. And whoever is responsible for that shipment is the one that's putting in the gate passes, putting in the information. And then that's who the transporter will be contacted with. If it were the auction that was responsible and they were pushing the cars to a buyer, but they're responsible for transport, then it would be the shipper in that particular case. But and this needs to be understood, the transporter will have full contact information for both shipper and receiver. They get full details, full collaboration with both parties. So they can communicate with both pickup and delivery.
What I don't understand is Central Dispatch has been a pretty normal interaction for many folks in transportation logistics for years. So load board, got it, makes sense. So now that you're a marketplace without being a broker, then now there's all these questions. And then as soon as they get past the you're not a broker question, then it's, well, you've got to be, how are you making money? What I don't understand is why all the suspicion and questions. I don't get it. But I'm glad that we're able to talk about it and try to answer them.
Who would do it, Jay? Who would do something like this?
I know, right?
Who would do that?
Who's crazy enough to blow up their own brokerage to start a marketplace? Right? Why would this idiot even try that?
That's the big question. How can you change your life?
Yeah. I mean, I love the questions because it's obviously we're making people think about it, right? And if you can start to make people think about something different in a different concept and a different light in a fragmented industry, now we're starting to open some eyes. So I love the collaboration. I love the questions. If nobody had questions, that would mean we're not doing something very good that's not really making people's heads turn. But I also think change is scary for a lot of people. They're going to question change. And we are changing the mindset on how vehicles are moved. And I think the mindset on how truly collaborative and open and honest an industry can be with each other. Because we're allowing the carriers to see real rates. We're allowing the shippers to see real carriers. And we're not blocking the flow of information from anybody. And I think that mindset really scares the shit out of some people, for lack of a better term.
Well, I'll tell you, there should be an auto hauler exchange like superhero comic book. I mean, it's the change element. That's what it is.
It is. But I love I love the dialogue,
great.
and I love the questions.
I love it too. And I will say there was a lot of interest in this show. Within just a couple hours, hundreds of people had opened the email and checked it out. We're clicking on the link. Yeah, and I think there's as soon as I say it, most people will jump off. But there's a decent amount of people watching now. There'll be many more that watch it afterwards, and then there's the podcast too. So we're going to keep the conversation going. But before I go to final thoughts, Dana, are we missing anything? Are there any more comments that you wanted to? I know you guys worked pretty hard to find good comments.
Yeah.
And as we know from LinkedIn, there's always another good comment out there.
Yeah.
So one of them, it's pretty lengthy, but essentially the question is how our system enables collaboration and communication.
What was that? How is what?
How our system enables collaboration and communication.
Yeah,
Right.
I think as soon as a shipment is accepted by a carrier, right?
Yeah.
The collaboration is tied in, and we are building in even more collaborative products to allow a messaging platform for drivers to communicate directly with shippers via messaging rather than having a text or phone call. And the way it's set up today is as soon as a shipment is accepted, the shipper gets all the information for that trucking company, their dispatcher, their driver, any tracking links that are available, whether it's through an app or through the truck itself. And then the shipper or the carrier gets all the pickup and delivery information. And that includes phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, anything we have for that particular shipper and receiver. And then we do have an ops team. If a particular shipper does not put in the right information or they put in an accurate phone number and it's not working, the carrier can connect with our ops team. We will make sure they get the right phone number or the right email to make sure they're connected to the right shipper and receiver on those shipments. At the end of the day, we do not want to be involved in any of the middle of this. But if a shipper fat fingers an email address or a phone number and the driver's just not getting somebody on the phone, they can contact our team and we will get them the right information, and we'll make sure the shipper changes the information and has the right phone numbers and emails in the system. And it is up to the shipper and carrier at that point. They start to speak directly with each other. And the beauty that we've seen in this process is that relationship building. You start to see the same carriers going to multiple shippers in the same markets, and they already know the information. They know the pickup times. They know that Bill's going to be there to check them in when they arrive. And that's the collaboration that we truly want to build, is that relationship. But our system will provide them with all the phone numbers and emails that they need to communicate with whoever they're picking up the cars from.
Yeah, I want to jump in and say, I am positive that all marketplaces and industries are, as we enter, again, I'm going to say AI, but that's the reason I said AI is just to mark the change that we're going to see, and that we're using technology to ramp up what we're able to do. And it's not this goal all the time to replace somebody, but to improve a process. And this industry lacks a socially collaborative component that only takes place, I think, right now, still through a phone call. Listen, Dave's a good guy. Bill, Barry, Mary, John, they're good. Why can't that goodness be translated through a technology system? Sure, we see it in ratings, but that's still, where's the picture of the truck? Where's this? Where's that? And if we look at like younger generations, everything they do is way more connected to how than we're operating, right?
Yes.
They're on Discord. They're managing 1,000 friends at a time or whatever. And with this, we're managing 5 people at a time, and there's this need to ramp up and do more faster for whatever reason. And since we have the mobile app, it is interesting. I never thought of it as the gateway, but it is.
It is.
It's the next gate. Now you can reach. I mean, I don't want to say something crazy like, we want to see what all the carriers are doing all the time. Believe me, we don't want that. Yeah. But if we could see the cars, here's the cars I delivered this week, and here's me and my truck and my dog, and then here's what I'm doing right now, and I'm delivering this tonight. And I mean, if that was even possible, there's a dealer somewhere to be like, okay, I'm just hiring that guy right now. I don't even care if he wants 50 more bucks.
When you talk about that, think about like Uber or Lyft, right? My wife is never going to get in a car unless the guy's got a 5-star rating, ever. Just not going to do it, right? So why don't drivers have an opportunity to get paid more because they're a 5-star carrier, right? I know shippers that will pay more to guarantee a 5-star carrier, right? So we want to be able to have that social network mindset to where your ratings are one thing. You got to be smart about how you do them, because if one shipper has one bad experience, that carrier doesn't necessarily need to get dinged. But if you're building a great network of experiences for thousands of shippers, you should be paid at that level, and you should be able to get more opportunities and see better opportunities. And eventually our marketplace is evolving into that mindset that the best carriers should be working with the best shippers at the best rates. And if you want those opportunities, continue to provide a high level of service for the shipper community. And the shipper community better do the same thing for the carriers, because you get graded both ways. And if you're a shipper that's treating drivers bad and making them wait and creating dwell times and not willing to pay for, VINs that don't ship, then you're going to get graded poorly yourself, and you're going to get the worst of the worst when it comes to carriers coming to your market.
Yeah, what you just said about, it's totally true. The level, if you have anything less than 5 stars as an Uber driver,
you're just not, you're not going to get a lot of you're not going to get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Unless you're picking up an idiot like me that's not worried about a 3-star driver for whatever.
Right.
Just get me there.
Will you do it for $50 less?
It's a safety net. Same with the carriers, right? I mean, we want safe carriers.
Exactly.
So I want a safe Uber driver.
Right, and it's I think the vetting process that we've instilled, and now we're building out the relationship building between carrier and shipper. And then you get to the evolution of that rating system that goes both ways. Now you start to build out a social network within the product to allow carrier and shipper to truly collaborate on big long-term opportunities so they can both scale their business properly.
I'm already in the live chat thanking people and all that stuff, because I think we're there. I think that we went even longer than we expected. It's 8:30, so that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Great job, Dana, Royce. I would say final thoughts, but I think we just had our final thought. What'd you say?
Jay, appreciate you having us on. Sorry I came on with my Movember scruff. Dana did a much better job of cleaning hers up than me.
Oh, and as usual, I'm barely prepared. So, aren't we a fine trio? I'll see you next week at Used Car Week.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting. Used Car Week is like the big event of the year, so we'll see you there.
And I would say anybody that's questioning the product, if you're a carrier, get set up. Call us directly. You can reach me at Royce at autohaulerx.com. We're not here to change the way you do business, but if you're doubting it, get in the product and see how it works.
Okay, and so here we got super bonus question. Going back to the original thumbnail, why are you listed as a broker on Central?
We have no choice.
We have talked to Central. Central has been to our offices, specifically told us they did not know how to list us on their product.
Yep.
And we asked them to list us as a marketplace. They said they don't have that option within their product. They said, we're going to list you as a broker. We said, well, we're not a broker. Go to the FMCSA website. You can go to the FMCSA website and look up carrier snapshot. And anybody that's listed as a carrier with the DOT or a broker with the DOT will be listed at that website. We are not. This is simply the way Central has us listed because they didn't know how to put us on their product.
What would you prefer it be? Should it say marketplace?
Marketplace.
Or
It should say marketplace.
Marketplace.
Okay, Andre has. Hey, Super Dispatch has price and negotiation tools. Is similar. You set a range and see what carrier bids.
Yeah, Super Dispatch is a solid low board. Beck and I have a lot of collaboration. We do feel there's some similarities in what they're doing, but some very, very big differences in what we're doing. I think any good product out there should allow you to collaborate with shippers. The one big difference between us and them is there's no brokers on our product. We have 0 brokered rates. I think one of the issues when you have boards with brokers is you don't know if those shipments are real or not. You don't know how many brokers posted the same shipment. Within the Auto Hauler Exchange, every shipment is marketed live directly from a shipper who has either just purchased that car or just sold that car. So they own the vehicle, and they're posting the opportunity directly themselves so the carriers can know it's real.
You just pointed something out. That's actually one of the reasons why there shouldn't be such resistance. Because, yeah, the shipper is posting the load as soon as... It's not one of those... We all know this. Dispatchers know this. Is that things get posted when we're ready. Oh, yeah, I got to get to that, yeah. No. Listen, you just realized you need it shipped, and you just posted it. Wow, that sounds like an ad campaign. Did you just realize you need it shipped? You need to just post it and get it shipped then.
Yeah.
Right. Another great live chat. Here's to the live chat, you rabble rousers. And all the commenters out there with questions, keep them coming because there's more to do. Just like in the superhero comic book. Dana, Royce, thank you so much. I'll see you next week.
All right, Jay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Y'all. Thank you.
See you soon.
All right, have a great evening.
All right, good night. And that's a cut. Okay, cool. Great stuff, guys. Perfect job, just as we rehearsed. And then really, Auto Hauler Exchange, cool company. I think it's a great idea. I think that, I guess we're seeing that, yeah, there are a lot of questions, and that's great. And change. ATI is all about change. My gosh. If there ever was a channel of change and questions and controversy, man, the auto industry never saw it coming. I just want to thank Superflow Systems, Auto Hauler Exchange, ClearPath TMS, Murphy Auto Transport Services. Thank you so much, live chat. I'm loving you guys tonight. Loving it. I'm serious. I'm being serious right now. Okay, and that's it. So I did the thanks, and really it was a great show. Got more Auto Hauler Exchange coming next month. We've got, what is Draver? That's on Thursday. Tuesday, I will be live from Used Car Week, and then we're moving into Thanksgiving holidays. And then, man, I got some crazy December content coming. So stick around. It's ATI Auto Business, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Please do feel like you can ask your questions, share your thoughts, grow your business. You can do whatever you want. It's ATI Auto Business. Thanks so much, everybody. Here comes the car hauler. Good night.